Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a journey, but not to some far off place. We're going inward to ask one of the most fundamental questions there is. How do you really know you're right? We're going to explore the fascinating, sometimes messy world of our own minds to figure it out. It all starts with that nagging feeling, right? That little bit of discomfort when what you're doing just doesn't quite line up with who you think you are. You feel like it's wrong, but you do it anyway. We've all been there. And that feeling? Well, that's our first clue. So let's put a name to it. Psychologists call this feeling cognitive dissonance. It's that internal static, that mental tension you get when your actions clash with your values. And that uncomfortable feeling is exactly what kicks off this whole process of questioning ourselves. And this stuff pops up everywhere in our daily lives. You think of yourself as a huge animal lover, but man, that burger looks good. Or you care deeply about the environment, but you can't resist a deal on a new shirt. It's this tension that forces us to stop and ask, wait a minute, what do I actually believe? Okay, so how do we even start to sort through all this mental noise? To figure out if we're on the right track, we have to begin with the part of our mind that's consciously trying to figure things out, the part that deliberates. So let's look at the first layer. Think of it as your conscious compass. This is where we use reason and reflection to try and steer the ship, to decide for ourselves what's right. A great way to start is by trying to define our core values, and we can do that by asking some pretty powerful questions. Think about it. What moments in your life felt the most significant, and why? Or what makes you genuinely angry? Because you know what? Anger is often a sign that a core value has just been stepped on. Answering these helps us draw a map of what we consciously believe is right. Now, once we have an idea of our values, the next step is trying to make them all, well, work together. Philosophers have a cool term for this: reflective equilibrium. It's kind of like tuning an orchestra. You hold a big general belief, but then a specific situation comes up that makes you rethink it, so you tweak and you adjust until everything is in harmony, stable, consistent, and not at war with itself. This whole process, defining your values, trying to get them in sync, that is your System 2 brain putting in the work. It's the slow, logical, conscious part of you. This is us deliberately trying to be the person we want to be and building a coherent idea of what right looks like. But here's the thing. Our conscious mind isn't the only one with a microphone. There's another voice in our head, one that's a lot more automatic, and we call that our conscience. You know what I'm talking about, right? That gut feeling, that quick little judgment that just pops into your head and says, maybe don't do that. That's your conscience. And believe me, it operates very differently than that slow, logical part of your brain we were just talking about. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the difference. Moral deliberation is that slow, effortful System 2. It feels like you talking to yourself. But your conscience, that's System 1. It's fast, it's automatic, and the judgments often feel like they're being sent to you, not like you came up with them. It's not weighing principles, it's just instantly checking your actions against a lifetime of norms you've soaked up. Seriously, think of your conscience like an app that's always running in the background. It's constantly scanning what you do. But it's not checking your actions against that list of values you carefully wrote down. Nope. It's comparing them to this huge database of social rules you've observed from your family, your culture, your whole life. And it does it all without you even realizing it. This quote really hits the nail on the head. When you reason something out, the conclusion feels like it's yours. It's in your voice. But that sharp little poke from your conscience, that can feel like it's coming from someone else entirely, like a parent or a teacher or just some outside judge. It doesn't always feel like it came from you. And here's the real twist, the kicker. Because those norms you've internalized aren't always ones you've consciously chosen, your conscience can be wrong. It can be out of date. You might have rationally decided that some old idea is just plain wrong, but your gut still yelps when you challenge it. And that's where the real inner conflict lives. When your fast, automatic conscience goes to war with your slow, reasoned values. So if our deliberate thoughts and our automatic gut feelings can be in total opposition, what are they both built on? To really get to the bottom of how we know we're right, we have to dig deeper. We have to get down to the bedrock. I mean, what are the things we're so sure about we don't even think to question them? Let's go to that deepest layer, the very foundation of how we even think about right and wrong in the first place. Philosophers call this the moral bedrock. These are things like unjustified killing is wrong. These aren't beliefs we figure out with logic. They're more like the axioms that make moral logic possible at all. You can't really argue for them because they're the starting point for all our moral arguments. I absolutely love this quote because it nails the idea perfectly. These bedrock certainties aren't just more beliefs we have. They are the ground itself, the framework that holds up everything else we believe about right and wrong. Here's another way to think about it. You can't play a game of chess unless you first agree on how the pieces are allowed to move. Well, these bedrock certainties, they're the rules of the game for moral thinking. They're the shared background that lets us even begin to have a meaningful conversation about what's right and what's wrong. Okay, so let's come back up to the surface. We've looked at our conscious compass, our automatic conscience, and the bedrock they're built on. Now let's put all these pieces together into a practical map for actually navigating our own minds. So you can really see this whole process as a 4-step journey. It all starts at the surface when you notice that uncomfortable feeling of cognitive dissonance. That's your signal to then consult your compass, your slow, deliberate reasoning. But at the same time, you have to listen to your inner voice, your conscience, and try to understand where it's coming from. And finally, you recognize that all of this is held up by your unshakable bedrock certainties. And this leads us to maybe the most important takeaway of all. The goal of this whole journey isn't to find one single perfect voice inside your head that's always right. Because as we've seen, your best reasoning can be flawed, and your gut conscience can be totally out of date. There's no single guide that's infallible. Instead, real self-knowledge and the confidence that you're on the right path comes from understanding the conversation happening between all these different parts of you. It's about being the moderator in your own head, weighing your deliberate thoughts against your gut reactions, and seeing how it all connects back to your deepest foundations. So I want to leave you with a final thought. We tend to think that peace of mind means getting rid of all inner conflict. But what if that's not the goal? Perhaps the real sign of wisdom isn't having a silent mind, but having a mind that you know how to listen to in all of its amazing complexity. Maybe being right isn't some final destination, but the ongoing process of navigating the journey itself.